educative and recreative activities for the children of Paterson apart from summer camps? If yes, what and how? If not, and if not, why? Then there's a second question. What would you, I answer the first question, we'll
Sure.
choose the second one.
Thank you.
It's too much.
I believe in the community schools concept. A public school is a public building. It shouldn't shut down at a certain time, at 3 o'clock or whatever it may be. It belongs to the public, and that's why they call it a public school, and essentially it's a public building. And therefore, we should have these community schools that service individuals who live in the neighborhood. The Harlem Children's Zone is something that's worked in other areas where they've taken a number of blocks, whether it be 15 or 16 blocks, and dedicated specifically to education. They built a daycare center, they built a grammar school, they put a high school there, and they've emphasized college preparation. The Harlem Children's Zone is a successful model that's worked not only in Harlem, but in other municipalities across this country. That's something I'd like to see implemented here in Paterson as far as a community schools concept is concerned.
Okay. Cards. Okay. What can you specifically point to that you have initiated in Paterson?
Not too long ago, the North Jersey Herald News published an article that says the mayor has a handful of kernels, the skillet is hot, and things are popping in Paterson. They were making reference to a report that was promulgated by the Department of Community Affairs that we have created jobs, we have retained jobs, and at the closing of 2010, it is anticipated that Paterson will see $1 billion in economic development in our cities. New schools, new hospitals, new roads, and even something that was taken for so long for granted, planting of trees. And you see how those beautiful flowers have been blossoming up this spring? And that was through a coordinated effort between the Department of Community Affairs, the Board of Public Utilities, that allow us to be part of a Cool Cities program. Paterson was Cool Cities. 1,500 trees a year for 10 years was struck with that contract, and it meant that it was going to be cooler in the summertime, warmer in the wintertime. The real estate value of our city and the landscape of our city will improve because we have green, and the most significant of all of the three contributions is the fact that prior to that program taking effect, Paterson had the highest asthma rate in the state of New Jersey. And today, we've seen a significant reduction in the asthma rate only because we planted some cool trees. So we have been progressive, and we're moving on. And there's still a lot to do. And that's how come I'm running one more time, so that we can continue the progress. Vision for the future. We got a master plan for the first time in 30 years. We hear our councilman talking about a TOT traffic plan. He must have not had enough time to read the draft of the final cut of a traffic study that we got $500,000 from the Department of Transportation to do it. And it's being released, and it was entered to address all the traffic. 30,000 cars come into Paterson daily as the county seat. We heard about talking about grants coordinator to provide money. Coordinators cost money. Who's going to pay for the coordinator? And you know that Governor Christie has taken a tough stance against anti-lobbying laws and regulations. So you're going to pay a lobbyist to get the grant, or you're going to pay the grant coordinator that once he gets paid for the grant, what percentage of the grant is he going to take for his own? Because otherwise, you got to pay him a salary, and they cost money, and we don't hear where that money is coming from. Crime has been down since 2001 to 2009, 35%. And then in that same level, from 2001 to 2009, we have increased 74 police officers and have spent tens of millions of dollars. New T3 scooters to perform community policing. Cameras throughout our whole city. Comstack. We have separated our emergency dispatching system to have the first time ever quality of life cars so that we could listen to the loud noise and also listen to those park drive complaints that we get, because every ward is different. And yes, those 22 schools, I agree. If there's anything I agree with many things been said with my opponents here today, was the fact that, yes, I was a councilman. I was council president when we entered into that agreement with the Board of Education to open up 22 schools, and we should get the volunteers and the community, give them the space and let them do the recreational program, because too often they want to do it and they can't get the space. And so, and with that, in closing, I'm 3A. Please consider me to re-elect me for another term. Third term, 3A, as your mayor, to continue the progress.
did sound good, didn't it? I don't believe it, but I did sound good.
Motion to adjourn?
I'm Jeff Jones, and I'm 1A on the ballot. And I would have to say that without question, the reason I'm running is because I'm not satisfied with the last 8 years. While that is not to be a reflection on this mayor at all, I think he has done some decent things for the city. I think he's been proactive in a number of ways. And I think he has tried to be a visionary where in the past leaders of this city were not. But I also think he's come to the end of the line. I don't think he can take us to the next step. Much of what has happened because we as a city have been left alone for 25 years. We've been abandoned by many, and now they see opportunity to come here and develop. And so they're coming. Unfortunately, we're in the market and the economy right now where we're not getting the best bang for our buck. What we're doing is we're filling gaps. And some of those gaps we talked about tonight. We talked about where you and ESNA and part of the 3rd Ward and other parts of this city are still screaming for the same old conditions that have not been changed, those basic quality of life concerns. We're talking about if the quality of life conditions aren't addressed, the rest of it makes no sense. We have problems with our young people, some, not all. We have problems with adults, can't find jobs. There's been no discussion, there's been no plan placed on the table about empowering a community. How we raise this condition. Because this economic downturn was just the first shot across the bow of what could happen if we're not prepared and ready. And we weren't. Katrina hit us, or not Katrina, the floods in Floyd and some of the others have hit us. And the best we got was displaced families who couldn't go back to their homes. We've not fixed that agenda, but we're talking pie in the sky to a degree. The time now is for all of us, this conversation, which of course is happening in every other part of the city. Other residents in other places of this city are saying the same things. So we've got a lot to do. We have to take stock in this town. We have to get involved. ESNA, without question, what you do is respected citywide. Unfortunately, many of the folks don't feel as though what you bring and what they want and need, that they can get it done. So one of the things that has to happen is we have to bridge that gap of communication with the ESNA membership, and I would be willing, and more than willing and interested, to be a ready member. But let's help some of the other neighborhoods get their acts together, because they're having a hard time facing crime and drugs and shootings and decayed buildings and this, that, and the other. You have demonstrated tonight that you're organized. You have demonstrated that you have the capacity to make change in a neighborhood. But many of the other components of this city, which don't have the benefit of what you bring, are starving. How can a city grow if only one aspect of it is moving and the rest is dying? It will never see its potential. Jeff Jones, 1A, for change that matters. Thank you.